Hey guys, welcome to the Field of 68 YouTube channel. If you like what you see here, hit that subscribe button and you'll get more college basketball content just like this.
Your Miami pick is great, and it transitions us right to the ACC preview. But your Miami pick is great because, one, look at the last 2 years, Elite Eight and first Final Four in the history of the school. And yes, they say goodbye to Isaiah Wong, who had an amazing career. And yes, they say goodbye to Jordan Miller, but they still have enough really, really strong players. I mean, Nigel Pack is still walking through that door. Wooga Poplar, is it Poplar or Poplar?
Poplar. A dude. He's gonna take off.
He's a dude, and Norchan Omier is a dude too. And not to mention they brought in Matthew Cleveland, who's a guy who at Florida State was averaging 14, 15 points per game and is tough. He's a tough mofo. Miami's good. Miami is great. And Miami, again this year, heading into the season, the national person, meaning us, I understand people are going to be like, Duke is number one in the ACC. And then Carolina, are they back? Carolina. Like, we don't talk about Miami until we get to like the third or fourth point on the ACC. We need to change that. We should be talking about Miami 1 or 2. Miami should be second in the ACC preseason poll, and they absolutely can win the ACC title.
Yep. And not only that, they got a young man named Kaishan George who played in French Pro B last year that shot like 35% from three. Pro B is a good league. And like he's a really good player, 6'7", rangy, can do a lot of things with the basketball. That underrated that didn't get the publicity. But like this Miami train's not stopping, guys. They just got Jalil Bethea, who is a top 10 player in next year's class. Like Miami's they're continuing to be good. And the crazy thing is they get all these. That's it. They get all these guys from the Northeast and up in Minnesota to where like, hey man, weather's pretty good down here. Plus we got some NIL situations. We got some NIL situations that are nice.
Fanta, for the people that are listening to this and aren't watching it on YouTube, Fanta is dropping dollar bills. When I first saw you do that, I thought you were dropping powder. And I was like, oh my God, Fanta. Like powder in Miami. I was like, dude.
That's the old Miami. Miami's really cleaned up.
You can't do that. You can't do that on the DTF podcast, man.
America, I don't do drugs.
Big news. The Almanac is officially back. The most exhaustive and comprehensive guide to the 2023-24 college basketball season is available for pre-order now. If you go to cbbalmanac.com, link is in the description below, you can pre-order for just $15.99 or 20% off the sticker price. The format is going to be a little bit different this season. Instead of an 850-page PDF, you'll be getting access to the full site with league-by-league PDFs available for download. The preview will be live on September 20th. So you have until then to be able to get your pre-orders in. So for insight for all 362 Division I teams from their head coaches and the experts that cover them, make sure you hit that link.
No, they're good.
Were those dollar bills
not
rolled
stopping
up?
either. Like it's not stopping. Just to let everybody know, like get ahead of the game. Like Miami's not going.
Why do you have that many singles? Can we talk about that for a second? Like, why do you have that many random singles laying around?
Don't ask. No, I was in Italy. We were in Italy, so you need singles. Gotcha. You know why they're not going anywhere? Because Jim Larrañaga said this, and I loved it at the Final Four. He said, "I tell my guys, do what you have to do. You know, with the NIL, which they're kings at. Do what you have to do. You go to class. You want to go enjoy the beach. I mean, Jim Larrañaga said it. I got the best job in the world. I get nice coffee or a smoothie." He said a smoothie. And he walks around campus and he goes, I'm in Miami. The women are gorgeous. The sun is out. I got a smoothie in hand. And I tell my players, I'll see you at 3:00 every day. And from 3 to 5, you're mine. Outside of that, you're good. He's got this master plan down, man. This guy's running while we're all walking.
Yeah. You know what's funny? It's 105 degrees down there, and Larrañaga's in a full sweatsuit drinking coffee. Hey, he's got it figured out, though. I talked to a head coach this past weekend. I'm not going to say who, but we were talking about NIL, and there's been a lot of hoopla about guys like, well, what if this guy's getting paid $400,000? The guy next to you is getting $100,000. How does that make you feel? And every coach I've talked to, like, excuse my French, like who gives a fuck? Like, let these guys make money. The players in the locker room, they want to be coached. Once it gets there, they understand. If there's jealousy, who cares? Bench the jealous one. And Larinaga's got it figured out.
Yep. All right. So let's transition that into, obviously we know Duke is the best team. We're going to talk about just how good they are in a second. But Miami, well, are we agreeing them second best team in the ACC? Are you guys both there?
Yep. Both there. I am.
All right. So North Carolina.
Hold on. Let me pull up my list. Yeah, I got Miami second. Yeah.
Yeah. So North Carolina then is probably the next team that we would need to discuss. Negative. Well, we'll get what I was going to say is I'm a little bit worried about them. And the reason that I'm worried about them is because I can see some. Let me phrase it like this. I'm worried about them as like a top 15 kind of a team. I think they're going to be really good, but I can see some roster construction issues arising because I don't know if RJ Davis is a full-time point guard, and it kind of looks to me like they're going to try to play Elliot Cadeau as a full-time point guard, and I don't know if you look at the track record of point guards that have reclassified and enrolled early as like young 17-year-olds, young 18-year-olds to try to run a program, like it's not great. So
I'm gonna push back on that a little bit, just simply because like Tyrese Proctor was good last year. Wouldn't you agree? Like it took him a little bit of time, but he got going. But he was already the age of a freshman. That's the same thing.
Like he reclassified to going to the age that he was supposed to be. Like Elliot Cadeau is
Cadeau's 19 years old.
He's 19 already?
Yeah. Like he's 18, 19 years old. Like and if he's still 18, like he's about to turn 19 soon. Like he's an older player. That's my pushback. But it is an adjustment. I get it. I just feel like he's so quick and so good. He's going to fit alongside them well.
I understand why they did it, right? It's the passing and the shooting that you could put around him, and he can get in the lane. He can do like Kendall Marshall shit, and it helps create space and that you would.
He just impacts winning.
Yeah,
he just impacts winning,
and he's got
winning stuff.
But it's what Rob just said, Terrence. Your workload gets alleviated when you consider the pieces around him. Veteran players, guys who have been to the national championship game. Harrison Ingram, who looks like he's going to be a stud by all accounts. I mean, he was at Stanford. It's a guy who averaged 11, 6, and 4 per game.
Yep.
They to me, I thought they were very strategic in their offseason approach. And I thought it was a successful offseason. And now Cadeau's not being asked to be Superman. He's got to do some management that is beyond what his experience says. But I'd like to think that the entire vibe around Carolina is a 180 from what they were last year.
Yeah, this is the lead that we use in the almanac, the lead quote from Hubert Davis. The biggest thing for us this year is approaching it as we and not me. This is about us. I think that says a lot about the piece that is no longer there. We don't need to drag Caleb Love.
I also like to point out, like, the Cormac Ryan edition was a really good one.
Yes. Well, here's what I was going to say to you, and I was curious your thoughts on this, is that you bring in Elliot Cadeau and look at the guys that they added. Cormac Ryan shot 34% from three. I think that we all agree he's a better shooter than 34% from three. They added Paxson Wojcik, who shot 38% from three, albeit at Brown. They added Jalen Withers, who shot 42% from three on not a lot of attempts, but that's still 42% from three as a 6'9".
That was an underrated get too. Like, he's originally he's a South Met kid out of Charlotte. Like, he's a North Carolina kid. I'm happy he went there to have some things facilitated for him. He was an all freshman team member as a 5, and last year he played the 2.
Yeah.
So, like, you guys tell me that Louisville had some roster situation issues.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then Harrison Ingram, who shot 32% from three. I think we'll see that go up a little bit. He's good enough that he has to make them, but you can have one guy out there that's good enough where you have to good enough to make him, but isn't a great shooter and still be able to space the floor. So do you see that working? Do you see, I think we all see what Hubert was trying to do. Do you think that it will work for him this season, T.O.?
Yeah. Yeah, because now you have two guards that are willing to give the ball up and play quickly and realize that, like, hey, last year, North Carolina, they would get a stop and then they'd walk it up because Caleb Love wanted it. Like, when RJ 2 years ago, when they went to the Final Four in the national championship game, it's when RJ kind of took over and they let Caleb do his thing in the last 10 minutes. Now you're going to have two guards in Cadeau and Davis that are willing to push the ball and make that advance pass. To me, that triggers everything with North Carolina. So I think it's going to work. I think they have quality pieces around Cadeau, older guys. Harrison Ingram's really good, guys. I mean, an excellent passer, sees the floor. He's got to shoot it a little better, but I think he can. This is a really, really nice lineup. I mean, from top to bottom, there's a lot of good pieces, and pieces like West Virginia transfer James Okonkwo. Like, he knows what he's getting into. He's backing up Armando Bacot, and he'll probably only play 5 to 7 minutes on a given night. And other nights he'll play 12. Like,
you need what you need. You need him to average 8 and 10, 8 to 10 minutes. And give 5 fouls and just make sure that Armando, when he hits the bench, like you got a guy out there that's going to play his balls off for 10 minutes to make sure that your big fella doesn't get tired by the end of the season. And
he's a rim runner, lob threat, screen and roll guy. Like he's going to be able to do all those things. I love the way the roster is constructed.
All right. So there are 3 teams. I mentioned this earlier. There are 3 teams that wear orange that we need to talk about. Syracuse is one of them. I'm going to put them to the side for a second because I want to talk about Red Autry, bigger picture. Virginia and Clemson are the 2 teams in this league that I think are not getting anywhere near enough discussion. And Fanta, I'm going to go to T.O. first on this one. You know why I'm going to go to T.O. first on this one. You can see that Clemson Tiger paw on the wall behind him. Okay, you see that Clemson degree right there on the wall behind him. Talk to me about your Tigers, man. Look, they lost some players that I think were better than people realize, like Hunter Tyson. Turns out, like, he's a fucking dude, huh? Brevin Galloway, really good player once he got his nuts reattached. So, what do you make of this team? PJ Hall's back. They get Joseph Girard. Chase Hunter's back. Jack Clark, like, I saw that kid when he was at LaSalle as a freshman, and if he can ever find a way to get healthy, you're getting a 6'8" dude that can shoot it with point guard skills. He was a point guard until he was a senior in high school. He was 6'1". Then he grew. Fucked up his knees. Tough situation. But what do you make of Clemson?
There's a lot to like. PJ Hall is kind of where you start everything, because in a league full of really good 5 men, like, people, there's a lot of good 5 men in the ACC. Like, you have the guy up at Boston College, Quentin Post, who's really good. Bacot's really good. Filipowski, Norchad Omier. Like, PJ Hall belongs in that conversation of potential player of the year in the league. Like,
we have him as a top 25 player on the Almanac.
Yeah, and deservedly so. He is that good, and he had a terrific. Good. Fanta could stay.
Breaking news here on the DTF podcast. Fanta canceled. He canceled his 11 o'clock call.
He's not canceled.
He bailed on it.
Canceled.
He bailed on it.
Hold on, I have not been canceled. Oh my goodness gracious! This, a lot of people blame me for some of the crap that's happened in the last year. I don't have much to do with it. It is all on you, Rob. It's definitely some on Goodman. Okay?
You know what? I can tell you're growing up, because, like, when I start trying to push you to get a little reckless, like, you stop doing it, man. You stop doing it.
Smart man.
I'm proud of you.
That'll do it.
See, it's like my baby boy all grown up now.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, finish your point, T.O.
No, I like the pieces. Chase Hunter's probably the most underrated guard in the league. What do you average? 14? Was it 14 points, 4.5 boards, 3 assists? No, 4.5 assists, 3 boards. Like, he's a guy that's a big time athlete, and his slot, when Alamir Dawes transferred from Clemson to Seton Hall, there was kind of a void left at the point guard spot, and he had to kind of do it by proxy, and, like, it took his game off. Just having the ball in his hands, being a part, had some game-winning shots there at the end.
Can they guard? Underrated. Do you buy him defensively? Like, look, they lose
Chase Hunter or Clemson?
Clemson. Like, yes. They lose Brevin Galloway, and they're bringing in Joe
Brevin Galloway for defense. Who are we talking about?
Well,
that dude can't guard Fanta.
Well, they're replacing him with Joe Girard.
He can't.
That's the only issue. But here's my counter to that: is everybody else can guard. And I don't worry about Brad Brownell in defense. That's my counter. And if he's not going to play some form of defense, he's not going to be out there.
They lost Ben Middlebrooks, who could guard.
Yeah, but he only played like 8 minutes.
Okay.
And I'm not worried. And I also see Chauncey Wiggins taking a bigger role. This is a guy 6'9", 6'10", can really defend, can shoot the basketball, shot great percentages on low attempts last year. But I'm telling you, he's could be that next 3-and-D, 6'10" wing that can shoot it and defend. Just another guy.
Here's why Clemson's being underrated. Because in a world of the ACC where oftentimes the complaint about the middle teams is that they don't have that guy, Clemson's got a trio that should be in sync, should be scoring the ball at a high level, should be able to feed off one another. I mean, PJ Hall is ready to be in takeover mode. Obviously, we saw signs of that last year. Now with Hunter Tyson gone, I think he understands that he's got to be that dude. But your backcourt's going to have synergy. And the reason is because I think Chase Hunter and Joe Girard are going to feed well off one another. And this team, to me, Terrence, and you're the Clemson master, so you can disagree, and I'd love to hear your disagreement, okay?
Well, to me, he's the Greenville master now, all right?
Okay. They've got a trio, right? They've got dudes there at the top of their roster. Whereas you look at some other ACC teams and you're like, okay, I think their core is solid, but do they have a go-to guy down the stretch in games? And I think Clemson's going to be okay in that category. I'm with you. I mean, my X factor is Chauncey Wiggins. Like you just said, he's gained weight. He seems like he's naturally poised for the sophomore leap. But how about Jack Clark? How about Jack Clark, a transfer from NC State?
Yeah, good player. Got to stay healthy. Like Rob said,
it's a health thing, man. Like it's a health. Like he's one of these kids that had a late growth spurt, and it's just he hasn't been able to. His body hasn't caught up to the fact that it's now 7 inches bigger than it was before, and he just keeps getting hurt. Jake
Highbretter averaged 15 a game at Air Force last year.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about him. What do you think about him?
I do think with the things that he does translates to Brad Brownell's offense. He runs off the ball. He moves. He's not a guy who's going to dribble the air out of the ball. Shoots off the catch. I think he's a good piece. Ian Shefflin's a good player too. Just kind of somebody that'll board and initiate the break. They have pieces in everywhere, and they're deep. They have pieces
top
everywhere,
25
and they're deep. And
year.
you have Girard you can run screens for. You have Chase Hunter you can create off the bounce. And if you want something near the rim, you go to PJ Hall, and then everything can function around it. There's a lot to like offensively. Defensively, I get the whole team? Joe Girard thing. Yep.
You think they're a top 25 team, T.O.?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
More like top 35 for me.
I think top 25. They're in that 20 to 25 range.
Yeah, I think they're a tournament team. They should make the tournament this year.
Yes, they should.
If they don't, then it feels like Brad Manell's been on the hot seat for 27 years at this point. But this is the year where you're like, dude,
easy. Brad's my neighbor now. I'm about to move. We can talk next week.
Yeah. So just talk a little quieter when you say he's on the hot seat. All right.
Yeah. he knows he has to win. He knows he has to win. That's no secret.
Look, they've got an ACC Player of the Year candidate. Might sound bold, but PJ Hall can be that.
Yep. All right, Virginia. This is the one where I'm having a very difficult time wrapping my head around it. And I'm curious. So I kind of think that what Tony Bennett wants to do is something that is not necessarily going to work in the modern age of college basketball. He wants to get guys to come in. He wants them to stay there for 3, 4, 5 years. He wants them to grow. He wants them to develop. He wants to turn them from top 100 kids into Malcolm Brogdon, from top 40 kids into Kyle Guy, from 3-star recruits into Ty Jerome. Like he wants to get these dudes, bring them in and develop them and grow them in his system. I don't know if that still works with the guys that are good at that level. And I got a little pushback from Virginia fans about that. They seem to be really excited about this team. I can kind of see what they're saying, but at the same time, you got a group with 3 sophomores basically that are expected to start in Isaac McNeely, Ryan Dunn, and the transfer from St. Thomas, Andrew Rohde. I hope I pronounced his name correctly.
Love all 3 of those guys. Love all 3.
I do too. They're also young, and how often have we seen Tony Bennett have that level of success with that youth? Jordan Minor was awesome at Merrimack, fantastic in the NEC. Because
that one I'm more worried about.
Yeah, he was bigger and more physical and more athletic.
Yeah, that one I'm more worried about. Those 3 sophomores I would like though. Oof.
And what about Reese Beekman? Like he's good. We've been waiting for him to kind of take the star turn. Like I'm just Fanta, you're gesticulating. Go ahead, say what you got to say. I wonder if saying Tony Bennett lost his fastball. Like that's the wrong way to phrase, but like, I wonder if what he does best still works.
Okay. I don't think he's lost his fastball. I think he's got to get in the lab and work on refining what his pitching arsenal is, to go off baseball terminology. I think Tony Bennett's got great stuff.
He's got to add a knuckle curve.
Well, a knuckle curve.
Big fan of the knuckle curve.
He's got to throw a changeup.
A knuckle curve in October, or in college basketball terminology, March. Here's the thing. They went 25-8 last year. They had a nice season.
Yeah.
They had a great season. They went 15-5 in the ACC. They lost 5 of their top 7 players. They lost a lot. And when you're not in the – like Kevin Keats had a horrible year 2 years ago. And what did he do? He quickly turned the thing at NC State with just a mass of transfers. A mass of transfers, quick hitting transfers. Yeah, he had a couple of players that he retained that were very good. We'll get to them. But for me, Tony Bennett did try to build this the way that he's built other teams. And college basketball has changed. And you're at the end of the day, I'm with you guys. I like what they brought in Tony Bennett, his ideology. Andrew Rohde, Jordan Minor. Don't forget that Dante Harris was as big as any reason why Georgetown won the 2021 Big East tournament. So we have a small sample size, but Dante Harris won. He's a former Big East tournament most outstanding player. He's a good guard who needs coaching and who I think could take off under Tony Bennett. But you are asking a guy from the NEC.
Didn't Dante redshirt? Am I imagining that?
He transferred midway and then redshirted.
So he has a semester under his belt in the system, right?
Yeah. And so I like him. But I'll tell you what, guys, they're relying on players who were in totally different conferences, much lower conferences. Let's call a spade a spade. And now they're asking those players to really step up. They're young. They need Reese Beekman to be that dude. And I don't know if Reese Beekman is a guy that's going to be averaging 15, 16 points per game. All right. And maybe he will be, and maybe he'll take that on and be that guy. Maybe he has to be that guy for this team. But what I think about Virginia is I like their core. I can understand some of the players that they've got, but does this team have enough to be at the Virginia standard to compete for an ACC title? There are just 4 players from this team who played any minutes a year ago. Beekman, the lone starter. They lost a lot. And unless you're quickly turning it with the power of NIL, that's not what they did in their offseason additions. They went the traditional route, and I fear if they've got enough. And if Beekman's not the guy on the offensive end, who is?
Why isn't Beekman the guy? I'm lost there.
We just haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it.
Like I'm not talking about him. I think that he was good in the role that he was asked to be in last year, right? Where you're going to be a little bit of a facilitator.
He had one of the best assist to turnover ratios in the country.
Yeah, but
that's different from scoring.
I know, but the scoring is going to be skewed because of the style that they play. Like if they're only scoring 50 points a game and he's scoring almost 20% of that, like it's 20% of the team's offense. I think that has less to do with him than it does what they're doing.
My other concern with them, the last point I'll make about them is I'm concerned about what they do in the front court.
Yeah. They just need to screen in the front court. I like this team. I think Isaac McNeely gives him something different than he's had since Kyle Guy, and that's somebody you could draw up to come off and shoot threes. Mm-hmm. That's where I think it makes a difference this year. I think Andrew Rohde can do the same thing. He's more of an all-skill guy. He's more in the form of what's the kid's name that when they lost, he said, "Yeah, we are aware of that. Thanks a lot for telling me."
Jerome.
Yeah, he's much more Ty Jerome than he is a Kyle Guy. I think Isaac McNeely's a bigger Kyle Guy when it comes to stylistically. He's not Kyle Guy. Kyle Guy was a McDonald's All-American, but McNeely can come off screens. He can score off the move. You can set a pin down and he can come off and score. They haven't had that in some years. Who's the last guy?
I gotta go sign for a package real quick. Sorry.
Do it.
Do you like this team more than Clemson?
No.
Because Clemson's got if you put the two teams together, you would draft PJ Hall first.
Depends on where you're talking about. Like as far as what?
I think Clemson's got a better top.
Well, I have Clemson third. Like that's not like I got Clemson 3, North Carolina 4, Virginia 5.
There's more knowns with Clemson than there are with Virginia.
Sure. But the style will carry them, and the fact that he fit, like McNeely and Rhodey fit better, and then they have this dynamic point guard. Now that Kihei Clark's out of the way, I just feel like Virginia is going to be tough to handle because their point of attack is Beekman. Then you have guys on the wings that can score in different ways. They're calm. They know how to play. They don't have this Jack Salt figure to where they can go in and screen and be muck it up and be physical. But if Jordan Minor can be somewhat that at 6'8", 240, then I think it's going to help things. But I'm telling you, McNeely could be in line for an all-conference type year because he is that type of talent. He's got the size, and he's so strong that he's going to be able to hold guys off and be able to score when those games are 43-42 with a minute and a half to go. You can run some of these curl, baseline cuts for him to get something in the corner because he can knock down those shots. Virginia hasn't had that in the last couple of years, Fanta. Yeah. They haven't had that. That's kind of where I differ a little bit. I think this team fits outside of not really having this overwhelming 5-man physically.
Fair point. McNeely did prove himself against Duke and Furman last year. He had double-figure performances in those games. And he shot 39% from three. And on a team that was very experienced, Terrence, and I think it's interesting that he was able to find his way on the floor and play 22 minutes per game as a freshman on a team that minutes were not easy to come by for Virginia last year. If you were a reserve, if you were a guy that was kind of an afterthought at first glance, he became a key piece. And like you just said, he gives them perimeter shot making. There's a level of unknowns with this Virginia team.
Sure.
And I got to say, big picture in the almanac. All right. And folks, I think the almanac is absolutely fantastic. And while I work for the Field of 68, I have no hand in preparing the almanac. And T.O. agrees. It is awesome.
It's awesome.
It is awesome.
I got nothing to do with it either.
In the almanac, Tony Bennett said, quote, "This is college basketball now. I just hope this isn't every year for us." End quote. That's a very interesting quote. And it comes off to me that big picture. That to me says he wants to do things a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to be a Jay Wright who retires because of they're seeing the way that this is all going. So at some point, Tony Bennett's probably going to have to shift some of what his foundational beliefs as a coach have been.
Yeah, and there's still ways to do it the way that he wants to be able to do it, right? You can still bring players in and kind of develop them, and I think you're seeing that a little bit with specifically McNeely and Ryan Dunn, right? Like those are two guys where if they hang around for 4 years, they're going to be really, really, really damn good for Virginia. I just feel like they might be a year away, and it's hard to be a year away when the guy who's going to be your best player probably won't be there in a year. I want to ask you guys about Syracuse. Have we talked about Syracuse yet?
Oh, dude, no, but they are the most intriguing team in the league.
All right, so tell me why, because there's two reasons why I find them very, very, very interesting.
Because who the hell knows? Like who knows how they're going to play this year? New coach, Red, comes in, and it's like, well, is he going to play zone? Are they going to play man? He said they're going to play man. Are they going to play zone? Then they bring guys in like Naheem McLeod, who fits perfectly for a zone. And transfers, 7'4" transfer that heads up to Syracuse. He fits right in the middle of the zone. And then you have all this length around the perimeter that could give you fits with the zone. And then J.J. Starling comes in from Notre Dame, former McDonald's All-America. Judah Mintz comes back, the best returning guard in the league. And then Malik Brown, and I know this probably isn't going to be a popular opinion, he's just this long-rangey energy guy that just kind of molds everything together. And there's so much talent on the team. It's just like, how is this team going to be coached? Like we just don't know. And there's been no precedent because he hasn't worked for anybody. He hasn't worked for anybody except for Boeheim and Seth Greenberg. So like, where are your, like, what defense are you going to do? And then if you do decide to play man-to-man, how are you going to play it? Like, so many questions right there, but the talent is obvious. Benny Williams is obviously talented. I think a new coach coming in is obviously going to help him out. I am wildly intrigued.
I think they're going to be really, really good. I think we're talking like top 25. I think we're talking 25 wins. I think we're talking 13 or 14 wins in the ACC good, Fanta.
No, I'm not mad at that. The talent's there to do that.
If JJ Starling can improve his perimeter shot making, that would go a long way in their ability to make that leap. Now, Starling is great at attacking the basket, and Judah Mintz, the return of Judah Mintz is the top reason why this team can dream. Because you're talking about a guy, do you know how hard it is as a freshman to come in and average 16 and 5 assists per game? Those are ridiculous numbers. Those are numbers
fast. He is so fast.
He's a beast. He's a beast. Chris Bell is another shot-making weapon who I think is a bit of an X factor for them. 6'7", can cause mismatches. I expect growth. At the end of the day, he came in as a freshman, played 20 minutes per game. Benny Williams is a guy who I think, talking with Red for our Off the Carousel series, Red Autry's challenging Benny Williams to take ownership, to be the tough guy, to be physical, and to deliver. They've got height, plenty of height. Now it's a matter of who's going to step up and be that dude of the height that they have. Is it as simple as Naheem McLeod? But they've got options. This team has potentially multiple pros. And again, for me, if they can perimeter shot make, they're going to be better defensively. All right, that's not that hard to do. Because let's face it, Syracuse defensively the last couple of years has just been unathletic and not good. They're going to be better on that end of the floor. They're going to play more man. My concern has nothing to do with them. It has to do with the fact that they're playing in the Maui Invitational. It has to do with the fact that they're playing in the Maui Invitational.
Is that the call you bailed on?
Nope. And that they're playing a challenging non-conference schedule. They're playing Oregon in Sioux Falls. They can win that game. Frankly, they probably should win that game. We'll see. But guys, if you're in the Maui, like if you look at the Maui Invitational right now, they're probably what, 6th or 7th in that event? 5th, 6th, 7th. That event is loaded this year.
Yeah, it's really good. It's I'm just laughing at T.O., whatever the hell he keeps putting a pillow on his head for some reason for the people listening at home.
I'm like, yeah, sorry.
The ADD has finally started kicking in. Yeah, I will say this. So I think there are two things that are going to determine how good this team are. And to say nothing of like, we're going to find out whether or not Red Autry can actually coach, right? Like maybe he is awesome. Maybe he's terrible. We don't really know.
We have no idea.
Yeah, we have no idea. I think the two things that are really going to impact this are, one, the shooting from that backcourt, right? Like Judah mentioned, JJ Starling combined to shoot about 30% from three. That's got to go up. You can't have your two best players, your two best guards shoot 30% from three and win at the level you want to be able to win. I'm not saying they got to be 45% three-point shooters. I'm saying let's get to mid-30s, fellas. Come on. The other thing is Chance Westry. He was injured a lot last year. But he is
loved him before he got hurt.
Yeah, like I talked with Bruce Pearl before last season, and he was like, Chance Westry's the guy. Like he's going to be the guy in our backcourt. He's going to be the guy no one's talking about. He's going to be the best freshman we have. And he was injured and he was banged up and he didn't really get it done. But like a 6'6" combo guard that can shoot it a little bit, that can play off the bounce a little bit, that can be switchable defensively. Like you plug him in with JJ and Judah, and all of a sudden, one, you have like maybe the coolest names for any backcourt in the country, but I can't imagine a better combination of length, athleticism, and talent than Judah, JJ, and Chance Westry. That's fun, man. That's
a lot. Yeah,
that's fun.
They're good.
Anyone that we haven't talked about yet, T.O., that you think deserves mention here, like Virginia Tech, NC State, Boston College is a team. We talked about them a little bit. They went 9-11 in the league last year. They bring some good pieces back.
And they have Quentin Post.
Wake Forest brings some good players back. Losing the big kid Appleby. Yeah, Appleby and Bobby.
But they had Kevin Miller. They had Kevin Miller, who transfers, I want to say, from Central Michigan, who got hurt, so he didn't play the entire year. But the numbers that he put up during those 5 or 6 games that he played were insane. So he'll be kind of the next one. They're really high on this kid, Marcus Marion, Danish, kind of a 3-4. Can really step out and shoot, about 6'9", 6'10". He averaged 15 and 9. And Denmark's top league, and Denmark's top league is not great, but it's also not. It's still there's still some pros over there, so I think that's to be mentioned. Wake will be fine. Will they make the tournament? I think it's possible, but it'll be tough.
What about Boston College, Boston College, NC State, Virginia
I like
Tech?
Boston College because I think the floor is going to magically open up. Like Quentin Post just kind of makes things work. He shot almost 43% from three, and he's 7 feet tall. And not only that, he's got to be a better passer, but if he stays healthy, he'll be good. Prince Aligbe could take a step forward. You think that sophomore jump in production from, a percentage standpoint is going to happen? Gosh, it's just, to me, like the league is better this year. It's deeper this year. It was bad last year, but I think this year it'll take a bit of a step. Wildly intrigued to see what happens at Georgia Tech with Damon Stoudemire. I don't think they'll be good, but I'm curious to see how they play. Florida State and Baba Miller, if that team can stay healthy, they could figure some things out. Jalen Gainey, who tore his knee up last year, was Ivy League defensive player of the year, 2 seasons ago. They think he's going to be able to change some things for them defensively. Baba Miller is great. Notre Dame is going to be
talent on that Florida State roster.
Terrible.
There's talent on that roster.
Yeah, there is, and they're going to be fine. Notre Dame might be the worst team in the league. I think them and Louisville, they're going to slug it out for the bottom. And I think Pitt's going to be pretty good. They lost what's the kid's name? Dior Johnson. Of course, he transfers every time the wind blows. But like they have Blake Henson returns. Zach Austin's really good. Transfer from High Point, extremely athletic, and the Diaz Graham brothers come back. So there's a lot in this league. It's a better league this year than it has been in the past 2 or 3.
Yeah, how many tournament teams, Fanta?
So I actually think that this is a league that could send 6 to the NCAA tournament. I really do believe that. And I think 6 would be a nice year for the ACC. And 6, 7's the high point, but I think they could send 6. I think that you're talking about a league that's going to have Duke, Miami, Carolina. Carolina's going to dance this upcoming year. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Carolina fans. I know you thought I was a hater last year, but I was just trying to talk it real and they missed it.
NC State.
Yep. Virginia, I still trust to find a way there. Clemson, by what we're talking about, can go. And
I think the top 6 I think there's 6 that we can say pretty confidently should be tournament teams. Duke, Miami, North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson, Syracuse.
I'll tell you who I have at 6.
Oh, wow. Syracuse. See, I have Syracuse at 10 heading into the year.
I'll tell you who I have at 6.
Because I have no idea. Sorry, go, John.
Mike Young. And Virginia Tech are not getting discussed in this league. I know. We all know what happened last year. But little did we forget, okay? They started the season 11-1. 11-1. It was an all-time collapse, losing 7 in a row. When they start the season 11-1, they're in the top 25. You're saying they're locked in to make the NCAA tournament. There's no way they're going to miss it. But Hunter Couture got hurt during a crucial area of the season. They had rough injuries. They've got Sean Padula,
Padula Oblongata.
Yeah.
I like that.
My ACC breakout player is Rodney Rice.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good one.
I like him.
Good player.
Watching some video of him on YouTube, guys, just pulling some things up. What stands out to me is got some size to him.
Mm-hmm.
He can play make, and he's got some explosiveness to him.
Yep.
And this is a team that last year, when they had some guys banged up, right? When they had Couture get hurt, hand injury.
Yeah, they let elbow injury, and they lost 7 in a row.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's how your season gets destroyed, especially in a league that then didn't have the opportunities for them to get back on the radar. But, they should be better defensively. That's something that Young's got to clean up. They were not a good defensive team last year. But I think bringing in a guy like Tyler Nickel, I'll be curious.
I was going to say, do you know who is going to love Tyler Nickel? You know who's going to be very, very good playing for Mike Young?
Yeah.
You know who can be schemed to just sprint into catch and shoot threes? Tyler Nickel.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought in Robbie Beran, who was part of winning last year.
Hey, you know what? Let me ask you this, T.O. When you see these dudes that are allowed to sprint around the floor and just take catch and shoot 24-foot threes 7 times a game, do you sit here and you were like, my career was 15 years too early. I should be playing for Mike Young.
Mike Young has brought this up to me. He has brought this up to me every time I see him. He's like, hell, I wish I just had a shooter like you, which I know he's bullshitting me, but like, he's still, hey, I'm a fan. Like 15, either that or like, I was only good back then because I was so different.
But Terrence, to your point, you're absolutely right. I wish you were playing today for your sake. Okay. Right. And you still play. But here's the thing. Virginia Tech, also, if you read the almanac, Mike Young said, we're going to have no problem shooting the basketball. Mm-hmm. Guys, we all watch college basketball religiously. How many teams struggle from game to game to make threes? Let's simplify the game here. Mm-hmm. Virginia Tech's got some motivation. They got some returning players. They did pretty solid in the transfer portal. And they're entering the year where I don't think there's a high expectation level for them. I think this is my sleeper team in the ACC. I really do.
Okay. So now that we've all downed the ACC enough, so I'm just going to go.
Hold on. Can I tell you my favorite Mike Young story real quick? So he started his career at a Division III school called Emory and Henry, like deep in the woods of Southwest Virginia. I'm talking about like it's a campus in the middle of a cow farm, right? I'm talking about like one street light town. It's in the middle of nowhere, and it's not the case anymore, but there was a while where the guy that was his head coach, Bob Johnson, had 5 Division I head coaches in his coaching tree that were assistants for him at this little Division III school in the middle of nowhere in Southwest Virginia. But Mike Young told me that when he first got the head coaching job there, the reason he knew it was the right place for him was because there was a Civil War soldier's ghost that had haunted the gym that Emory and Henry played their games in. So next time you talk to Mike Young, ask him about the Civil War ghost that haunted the Emory and Henry gym. Because I'm pretty sure
he always has something.
Yeah, he always has some story like that.
He's great, man. Hey, Fanta, have you ever interviewed Mike?
Never formally interviewed, but
you need to find time because he'll give you some good stuff, man. He's great.
Well, I don't know if we can let Fanta and Mike Young like have a conversation together. That might be too much.
It would be awesome.
How much if they talk for 20 minutes, T.O., how much basketball are they actually going to talk?
I saw Coach.
Not much.
Yeah, about 30 seconds.
I saw Coach Young at Pete's Jam, and I'm not going to name, very briefly. And one of the coaches next to him, I'm not going to name the coach, turns to Mike Young and goes, "Oh yeah, that kid, he's fucking crazy." And Mike Young looks at the other coach, and I've never met Mike, and Mike goes, "I know."
Yeah,
that was the interaction. I'm like, Mike Young, I barely know you, but I feel like I do. So he comes off as such a great personality.
He is.
But I'd like them to bounce back. I think Virginia Tech is going to have a bounce back season. The team that I'm curious about, just because of what they lost, guys, is NC State.
Yeah, but they still have Casey Morsell, who, from what I'm hearing, has been awesome this entire summer, kind of waiting to take that next step. And they've got so many new pieces. They got the kid, Jaden Butler from Butler. Jaden Taylor from Butler, excuse me. Yeah.
Jaden Butler from Taylor.
Yeah, Jaden Butler from Taylor.
And DJ Horn, who's a veteran guard. And your favorite player in America is back, DJ Burns.
Oh,
walking refrigerator with ballerina feet. That's my guy. I like it. So here's the thing. So I want to go through something right now because we've been down on the ACC for a long time. So for 2 years, let's be honest. We can be honest here. We're all friends.
We're not being down on them in this preview show.
Exactly. So I'm going here. Duke can make the tournament. Yes.
Yeah.
Miami, yes.
I don't know if they have
Miami.
Hold on. Trust John Scheyer to make the tournament.
Stay with me, Rob. Stay with me. Your basketball for dummies thing is only gotten to chapter 2 on that thing.
Yeah, but don't say can. They will make the tournament.
They will make the tournament. Miami will. Clemson will. North Carolina will. Virginia will. Wake Forest, maybe. NC State, maybe. Pitt, maybe.
No,
go look at that roster. Go look at that roster. And
I did.
They don't have a shot.
Maybe he's generous. Possible.
Virginia
Pitt, I'm going maybe. Pitt maybe. Virginia Tech maybe.
Yeah.
Syracuse maybe.
Okay.
You're too low on Syracuse.
I just don't know. I
feel like I know, T.O.
I'm not doubting their
like
talent.
I know.
The coaching comes into effect. Like coaching is a thing. So you have to keep that in mind too. I mean, look at all the talent certain teams had last year and didn't.
So do you hear T.O. just said Red Autry can't coach?
I didn't say that. He's never. I don't know if he can coach. Do you know if he can coach? Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
No offense, but this isn't Jay Wright to Kyle Neptune. I mean, let's face it here. Boeheim the last couple of years has not been great.
Boston College. What do you think?
Move right on. We're moving on.
I don't. This isn't. We did Big East last week. I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to rain on Kyle Neptune. He has a good team.
But I'm saying to you that it's not like he's following a legend, but that legend probably should have hung it up a couple of years ago.
I'm not in disagreement there, but anyway. So Boston College, Quentin Post, Jaden Zachary, both very good. They have pieces around them. Possible, not probable, but I think possible.
The whole league.
What about Florida State?
If they put it together, Florida State is probably has top 6 talent in the conference on their roster.
Probably.
So what's your point?
So my point is, we've always wondered, like, why has the AC looked bad? It's because they've been shitty in the non-conference. I think they have a chance to be good in the non-conference this year, and that's going to change. You said 6, maybe 7. I think you could probably get 8 teams this year
if the maybe teams, those
are good in the non-conference.
I
agree,
and don't lose to Louisville or Notre Dame.
That's right. So, or Georgia Tech, because we really don't know about Georgia Tech either. So the bottom 3, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Notre Dame, those are the ones that you can't lose to. Outside of that, that's 12 teams with hard maybes. And I think Boston College is like at that 12, 11, 10 area.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
This is the elephant in the room.
Okay.
What does Louisville have to do for Kenny Payne to have a third year as their head coach?
I'm not an insider, so what do you think, Rob? What do you think there?
And to follow up there, or is there no bar, and he's going to get a year 3 regardless?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think that a year 3 regardless is not what's going to happen. If you have another 4-28 season, I just think that it's very difficult.
If they're on pace for 4-24, he'll be out in February.
Yeah, I think that they need to show improvement. There needs to be a reason for you to be able to look at this team and say, okay, I see what you're doing. I see where this is heading. I see how it can grow. I see what the future is here. Let's say Sky Clark ends up being a guy that averages 13 points and 4 assists, and Trey White comes in and you're like, okay, he's a good wing right there. And Brandley Huntley Hatfield takes a step forward and starts looking like a guy that was a 5-star recruit that committed to Tennessee back in the day, right?
Dennis Evans blocks everything moving.
Yeah, and you see them guarding, and it's like, well, they're not quite there yet. They're young. Kenny's still got to get another class in here, but we can see what's happening here. We can see what it's going. I don't know if you need to necessarily say he has to get to 6 wins in the ACC and finish at 500 or he's fired, right? I think you need to see the progression. You need to see the reason to be optimistic about where this program is headed under this coach for him to get a second year. And also, to be entirely frank, I think a lot of it depends on what the options are to replace him, right? Because if you're just getting rid of him to get rid of him and you don't have a guy that is the guy that you want to be able to bring in to replace him, then what is the point of doing it? You're just going to go through the same song and dance again. So I think if somebody pops up that becomes a very obvious person to hire, Dusty mate, I'm sorry, it's a little dusty in here. I think that's something where you have to really consider it. Right?
Wow.
It's not, to me, it's not just who, I'm not, I don't have any, I didn't talk to Dusty May and have him say, I want to go to the Louisville job. Right. I just think he's very, very, very good at what he does. And that would, if I'm Louisville, that's who I'm breaking the bank for. If Bruce Pearl's not going to come take the job. So I don't know. All right, we lost Fanta.
I thought I had to open the door.
All right. So that's does that make sense? That's where I'm at with it.
Yep. But my point was 12 teams, if they're good in the non-con,
they're good. I mean, they gotta get it done in the non-conference. Last thing before we can kind of move on from here is what Duke's going to head into the season as a consensus top 2 team, right? Some people have them number 1, some people have them number 2. I don't think there's a wrong answer there. I think that they are very legitimately a national title favorite. I think there's a real chance they could have 2 first-team All-Americans on this roster. I think that they have a very nice combination of experience and talented youngsters. I like what I see there. I'm worried about the defense. I'm worried about the rim protection. And I'm a little bit worried about this being the first time that Scheyer has this level of expectation on him. So where do you stand on what is a good season for Duke? T.O., what is a good season for this Duke team and this Duke roster?
Second weekend. But what I mean by that is nobody's going to be overly pissed if they make it to the second weekend. I think a good season, they could win the national championship. I'm not sure about the question. What is the question saying? Where are people not going to be disappointed?
Well, if they're out the first weekend, that's disappointing.
Yeah, first weekend exit's disappointing. After that, it's such a toss-up.
Do I suck at asking questions? Because this is the second straight podcast where Tio tried to answer a question. And he answered and goes, I don't think I understand the question. Do you remember what happened when I asked him the over-under on how long it's going to take for St. John's to be a contender under Pitino?
He was like the count.
From 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers going everywhere.
The number of the day. No, here's the thing.
Yeah.
To me, I'm with you, Terrence. If you make this, here's the thing. If you make the second weekend of the NCAA tournament and you lose, the fans who are that pissed off, all right, either had a future on you to make the Final Four or are just plain irrational about the NCAA tournament. No coach has made the Sweet 16 and gotten fired unless they did something off the court, right? What coach has made the Sweet 16 and gotten his ass canned? Nobody gets fired for that. If you get fired, it's for things that are unrelated to your basketball team performance. So, and he's not getting fired. His seat's not high. I think Jon Scheyer is the perfect fit at Duke. I think he's the right guy for this job, and I think he can absolutely win the national championship. Have we seen him in a Sweet 16 or an Elite 8 game as a head coach and been able to say, yeah, he could do it. Yeah, he could take that on. We haven't. But, guys, I like his demeanor. I like the way that he conducted himself in his first year. He didn't seem like he was overwhelmed. I think there were adjustment periods. But what I love
benched Derek Lively and Dariq Whitehead at the start of the season. The number 1 and number 2 recruits in the country. He put them on the bench at the start of the year. How many coaches do that?
No, not many. I think he's perfect for this job. Duke is my front runner to win the national championship.
John is your next 40-year head coach at one school.
He is. He's the next.
Yeah.
What Jim Boeheim was at Syracuse, what Coach K was at Duke. Jon Scheyer can be that now at Duke for the next 4 decades. Yeah. To me, what's different about them is that there's upside to the returning experience. Yeah, there's always upside with the freshman class, but Tyrese Proctor's poised to have an even bigger year. He could have a massive, massive season. I love his game. He's an NBA player. Kyle Filipowski would have been a top 20 NBA draft pick, and he's still playing at Duke. Mm-hmm. That's a problem for the rest of the ACC. It's a problem for the rest of America. And if Mark Mitchell's your third best of those 3 players, then you got something really good going. Jeremy Roach's health is important, and Jeremy Roach and Tyrese Proctor's ability to play off one another is important. Shot making, intrigued to see how that translates for this team. I agree with you on the rim protection. I understand where you're coming from. But to me, there's so much versatility for this team. And if Filipowski averaged 15 and 9 as the center point of an opposing team's scouting report as a freshman in college basketball, he's back at Duke. Sure, he's going to make money. You know what he's back at Duke to do? Win a damn natty. Mm-hmm. And I think this team can absolutely do it. They're number 1 or number 2 preseason ranking. I think Kansas will be 1. It's not because we fall in love with Duke and they're a brand name. It's not just that. They're damn good. They got as good of a sophomore class as any in America. and they got the second best freshman class in America.
Yeah, they're going to
tell me awesome. Why. Tell me why that team shouldn't be one of the 3 biggest national championship teams. Now it's just a matter of can Scheyer do it that deep, but why that deep into the tournament? But why couldn't he? Tell me why he couldn't.
The only thing is rim protection, but I think they got McCain, they got Caleb Fall, they got a lot of different freshman pieces. The one that people don't talk about that much is Sean Stewart, and I think he's gonna
see what he did. Did you see what he did last week?
He broke Zion's vertical.
He broke the record standing vert at Duke to beat Zion Williamson. I'd
rather have rim protection. I'd rather have rim protection be a question.
Yeah.
Than guard play. Because 100%. Guess what? There's a lot of teams that make the NCAA tournament. We talk all week heading into the tournament about how good their rim protection is, and guess what they say on Thursday or Friday? Sayonara.
Goodbye.
Yep.
Goodbye.
And there's multiple ways to be a rim protector too. If you could teach Kyle Filipowski how to get in the way and fall down, right? Like
which shouldn't be a huge issue for Duke.
Yeah, I was going to say it's Duke.
Just you fall down and get a charge call.
Thank you for watching the Field of 68. If you've enjoyed what you've seen here, hit that like button, share this link with your friends, or check out the description for some other places that you can consume Field of 68 content.